Alrighty, some pretty tricky action this morning in the index. Essentially, what we had was Monday session coming into the morning. We were looking for strength above 4380 to test that 4400 and potentially the 4420 area. The 4420 test never really materialized. We did kind of peter out there on Monday into 4415. Note the amount of volume that is done in that afternoon range. So if you guys have been with the team for a while, you know we like to look at those afternoon ranges, those afternoon bases, because they will put in a good amount of volume through price. Right? Talking about volume through price here. And so ultimately you have a bit of distribution in this area, just meaning sellers are piling up through here. Ultimately, look at what happens. It resolves lower during the overnight sesh. We have some data in the morning that kind of pushes it back down through that 4380 level, which we had down here. No real interest there. And it comes down into this 4370 level into 10 a.m. before staging a pretty big rally, a full ATR move in pretty much one breath on that rally. Now, this morning, I did not have a level of interest at 4370. That was a miss on my part. When we go back and we actually look at what happened here, we do have a high volume node. So that is most certainly a level of interest. If we back out into the hourly chart, take a look at just the recent action here. This is going to be the last month or so of action, and you'll see, once again, looking at volume through price, we do have a high volume node here. So any of these high volume nodes, volume point of control, things like that are always going to be big time levels of interest that you want to be watching. So 4370 gives a nice bounce that actually aligned pretty well with 10 a.m. reversal time. If we actually come into the intraday, let's take a look at the structure here. So you have pretty much a downtrend all morning. There's an attempt to bounce, probably just some short covering from the overnight sesh. Anyone who's going to be short overnight, they're going to be covering first thing in the morning. I attempted some shorts personally versus that prior day low. Two of them did not amount to much. Looking for a much larger move here, did not materialize. We get into 10 a.m. Now 10 a.m. is usually a good time to watch for some type of reversal, and that is exactly what happened. So you have a low that is marked on the session, pretty much a little look below the prior session low, recovers very swiftly, puts in a higher low, and just ignites from there, right? So the trend line enjoyers are going to be looking at something like this. If you can see that, they're going to be trading this as an intraday breakout. Personally, that's not my play. I'm more interested in getting long somewhere through here, somewhere around the 4370. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have that as a big level of interest this morning. Otherwise, yeah, that is a setup I would have been trying. Pushes higher into VWAP, no real pullback or any type of rejection there, just instantly breaks through VWAP, and we have the move up into 4400. So the main call this morning, the main watch was, that prior day low, that 4380 level. The second we recover that, it's kind of the main pivot for the session. It's 4400, it's 4420. So where are we now? We get a change of structure later in the afternoon, right? There's a clear change of character right through here. Now just chopping around that 4390. No real action here after that 4420 rejection. When we zoom out, take a look at the structure. Let me flip to the 30-minute chart here. Take a look at the structure. What is it? All right, pretty obviously still a range. Nothing happening here as far as a structure change. We're still trading sideways within the range. And so we're going to be looking at largely the same levels tomorrow. Ideally, we can start to see some type of break of this range towards the end of the week. But I mean, this is what it is right now. This morning, once again, like I said, put in a full ATR move. One ATR move up into that range high. before ultimately resolving lower. And now look, we're at that near-term range volume point of control right through here. Call it 4,400, just about a couple of points below 4,400. So this is either going to be some type of accumulation, which I personally think it is, and it's either going to resolve higher. If it ends up being distribution, right, we will resolve lower. And so pretty simple stuff. We just want to continue to treat this like a near-term range until it shows us that breakout. Very simple. And the way you trade a range, obviously, is when you're near the range low, right? Looking for longs unless it gives you a breakdown setup. When you're near the range high, looking for shorts unless it gives you a breakout setup. So straightforward stuff there on ES. I'm going to be looking tomorrow again at the 4380, 4400, 4420, a lot of the same levels. Probably sound like a broken record at this point, but that is what we're looking at. As far as the pullback itself from the NFP low, right? Look at where we're at. We still are holding near the highs of that 3-day rally. And so this is pretty good. This is typical bullish type of action here. So we want to keep an eye on, if it does actually resolve lower, you want to keep an eye on that 43.35, which has definitely been a big level of interest the past couple of weeks. Still is. But for now, just sideways within this kind of, 5-6 session range. So that's ES. Taking a look at NQ here. Let me see. So this morning we were talking about the prior day low. It was posted as an inside day. Blips below does not materialize into any follow through, right? You've got the 21 MA right there. You've got the big 15K level that was called out in the chat. So any of those whole round numbers are going to be massive psychological levels. NQ, we keep that 15K pretty much on watch, right? So you have holds as support. You got pretty much a range below, breaks above, testing this trend line. You can see the trend line there. Now just consolidation above 15K. We probably need some of these bigger earnings names to be behind us, right? NQ is probably waiting for Apple, some of the bigger names, maybe Tesla, maybe Nvidia. It is earnings season, so we need to see how some of these mega cap companies are going to report. Obviously, those are going to be market moving events, some of those mega cap names. So that's pretty much NQ. Again, just look, 3-day range here, right? So far holding nicely. The breakout is something we definitely want to be keeping an eye on NQ. Okay, check the volume today. So that is a bit of an anomaly. You have an inside day on higher than average volume. We're talking about 120% right now. So something to keep in mind. There is something going on there. Careful with that. For individual names, we have AMD still on the swing watch. The structure looks pretty good here. It broke out a couple weeks ago, now just retesting. I do like longs in this area, or perhaps even at the 200 MA if it does give a retest. But AMD's looking good. CCJ as an intraday idea for tomorrow. We're looking for strength above 38. Good volume today. Nice broad buy bar. We want to see some continuation above that 38.3. ENPH. Similar setup as far as the near-term range. Let's see. What we want to see here, let this correct, if it will. I could just do this. So what we want to see here is strength up through 132, right? Look at this setup. So 2 days of buying, potential change of character up through 132. Something that I'm going to be looking at definitely on ENPH. Ideally like to see more volume in it today. If we zoom out, this is weekly support, right? So worth keeping an eye on that ENPH. And then we have Qualcomm on the individual names list as well. I'm looking at 112, strength up through 112. This is just barcode can resolve higher if we see some follow through on today's bar. From there, it's ROKU. Still on the swing watch. Tried it here, got shaken out. Still holding that 200 MA as well as big daily structure here. So that stays on watch. Main thing, obviously, going to be the index. Take a look at the daily. So I've been saying for a few weeks now, I thought this would be the seasonal low. Still looks like it is. We want to see something like this transpire. So looking for a break of that 44.20. When I say this, of course, I keep no bias in my intraday trading, right? So I just want to make sure that point is clear. Don't really carry a bias on the intraday trades. I just trade the levels, trade the setup, trade the levels, respect my rules. But as far as macro picture, yeah, I do want to see some type of continuation on this move higher. Same with NQ. So that's pretty much it as far as the index as well as your individual names. Let's see, any questions, guys? Feel free to post them in the chat here. Benny, 15K by 15,300 NQ. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Kind of tricky here. I did love that 15K long. Hope you grabbed some of that. That was phenomenal. Let's take a look at the intraday. Yeah, pretty much aligning right with the 10 a.m. low, right? Definitely not directly at 15K, but we're talking about 60-point difference here, right? I mean, it is a 15K priced product. So 60 points is not all that significant. Holding that Friday low. Pretty clean. A little bit cleaner than ES today, in my opinion. ES, once again, miss on my part, that 43.70. Darn. But that's part of the game. That's part of the game. So any questions? Any other questions here? All good? Alrighty. Hope everyone had a good sesh, profitable sesh. And I'll see you in the morning for the pre-market prep. Get that review done if you haven't already. Take care. Have a good afternoon.